Welcome to Optimize Your Success. I am Jack Scott, the Chief Operations Officer at the Mentor Project, and I'm excited to introduce your host and a mentor at the Mentor Project, Dr. Ruth Gotian. Dr. Gotian is an expert in the field of high performers. Each week, she uses a live panel filled with high performers to discuss different topics while posing challenging questions to each of the panelists. You are able to hear from each of these panelists about their challenges. You will learn how they overcame these challenges so they could excel and reach high achievement within their life. This is a podcast you don't want to miss. We're excited you're here with us today. Welcome to Optimizing Your Success.
Have you ever wondered how certain people get ahead and other people can't seem to get out of the starting blocks? How is it that some people achieve so much and other people just have all of these false starts? My name is Dr. Ruth Gotian, and I study extreme high achievers, many of who are here today. And one of the 4 pillars of success that all of these high achievers do is that they have a really strong foundation. Some of the basic principles that they started early in their career, they are still doing now. You guys have heard of Kobe Bryant, the great basketball player who used to go to the gym at 4 or 5 in the morning. He was doing some of those same basic skills that you would see in a junior high auditorium. A lot of these high achievers, just because they get all of these awards and accolades and are well known, they don't ever give up their foundation. In fact, they work really hard to strengthen it. Last week, we talked about how they are constantly learning. Today, we are going to talk about how they are building and reinforcing their foundation. So we are here live every Monday night on all of the social media, and the audio is converted into podcasts, which you will hear on the Mentor Project's podcast channel every Sunday. So if you're listening to us on the podcast, please let us know that you like us. Leave us a rating and review. And for those of you, while everyone is introducing themselves, I want you guys out there who are watching live, let us know where you are from, where you are listening and watching us. And now our extreme high achievers will let us know who they are, where they're from, and what they are known for. Starting with the person who makes us look glam all the time, but she's really kind of badass, Jax.
Oh, I love it. Ruth, I'm so excited to be here tonight. I am Jax. I live in Northern Virginia. I've lived all over the world, but currently in Northern Virginia. And my background, I'm an entrepreneur, but before that, I 17 years in the military, 11 of which being in the special ops. And I believe because of the special ops and a lot of the training that I learned, I was able to take that and transfer that into my entrepreneurship and my business running a company. Currently today, I do cyber threat intel for a large organization, and I'm the COO for the Mentor Project.
Yes, and the Mentor Project is the one that is hosting us tonight. Jax, tell everyone that award that I always have to pull out of you. What's that big award that you got?
Ruth, I received the Bronze Star of Merit, which is given to a very, very small group of individuals for meritorious service. And I received mine during combat when I was in Afghanistan during one of my rotations.
Love it. Thank you. And thank you for your service. Dr. Bruce Y. Lee.
Yeah, Ruth, I've been waiting here. I've been freezing sitting here on this bobsled track. No, I actually put this up because, as you'll find, we actually have an Olympic bobsledder in our midst, and this is the closest I'll ever get to a bobsled course. My name is Bruce Y. Lee. I'm a professor of health policy at CUNY. I run a center that does computer modeling and simulation. We've been helping a lot with the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm also a health journalist. I cover health and healthcare for Forbes. And the only star I've received are in the shape of cookies.
Now, Bruce answers all of our COVID-related questions, and Jax, in addition to everything else that you've heard that she does, she has pulled me out of more than one IT fiasco. when I am at work, and it's, those SOS times. So it's always great to have these people on your team. Now, what you guys don't know is after we finish the show, the panelists and I, we usually hang out for this after party. And, Devin said he's going to take us bobsledding once, right?
You want to try.
We're going to hold you to that. Devin, tell everyone who you are and what you're known for.
Indeed. So first of all, I want to say, Bruce, normally we're not sitting on the track unless you're sliding down it. I can see in the background there's a building. That may be the warm house. That's where you hang out, man. Why do you think I can be a Jamaican and bobsledding? I'm not hanging out on the cool all this time. So yes, I'm Devon Harris, a three-time Olympian, original member of the Jamaican bobsled team. If you've seen the movie Cool Runnings, I've been one of those guys, and people are always asking which character played you. And I tell them I'm someone, and they take one look at me and just burst out laughing. They're like, "There's nothing handsome about you." So I have to come clean, and I'm like, well, there's Yul Brynner, the bald-headed guy, so you're the mean one. No, he was a dreamer, remember? He's the guy that wanted to go to Buckingham Palace to live. So I'm forever a dreamer. And these days I'm a motivational speaker and author, and I get to hang out with these amazing guys every Monday. So thank you for joining us.
And we love having you here. And next week, so like Bruce, I also write for Forbes. And next week you will hear Devin's story from the tropical island of Jamaica to freezing his butt off in Calgary for the Olympics within 4 months. You're going to hear that story next week in Forbes. Devin, thank you for joining us. And we're going to find a bobsled for you to teach us how to do it.
All right. We can work on that.
All right. Post-COVID. Dr. Allison Escalante.
Hi, I'm Allison Escalante. I'm a pediatrician, and I'm obsessed with helping people feel less anxious. There's been an epidemic of anxiety that's been getting worse and worse over the last decade, and that was before the world got really scary with the pandemic. So I created a method to help parents and professionals with this, and talked about it at a TEDx talk where I also shared the term should storm, which is how I refer to our culture of criticism and perfectionism that's always shaming us and telling us what we should do. I write about life in the should storm for Psychology Today. I write about the science of human performance for Forbes. And I practice pediatrics, raise 2 rambunctious boys, an even wilder puppy, and I'm an adjunct professor at Rush University.
Love it. And, it was when Allison and I were chatting that I found out that they now call gymnastics. It's not called gymnastics classes for the kids. What do they call it?
Oh, no. They still have gymnastics for the kids, but a lot of kids are into Ultimate Ninja now.
Ninja, that was it.
Yes. So
that was it. I didn't have that when I was a kid.
No, my boys currently won't do gymnastics because mostly at this age it's girls, but they will do ninja, which is basically gymnastics.
It's all in the words that we use, right? Thanks, Allison. Now the woman who gets everything done, Janice Lintz.
Hi, and thank you for having me again. So I'm Janice Lintz, and I'm CEO of Hearing Access and Innovations, and I am trying to change the world for people with hearing loss to make it more accessible. I'm also pre-pandemic and hopefully post-pandemic traveling to visit every country in the world, and I've so far been to 194 countries, territories, and unrecognized nations, or 139 UN countries.
Love it. And what you guys might not know is that for all the people who need that hearing access, it is Janice who, in her work, and she's like a dog with a bone, she doesn't let go. And it's because of her that there's hearing access why don't you tell them, Janice?
Well, in New York City subways, taxis, museums across the country, airports, captions on in-flight entertainment, the over-the-counter hearing aid bill, captioning standards, hearing aids for Build-A-Bear workshops, bears. standards for when you watch the Super Bowl and you saw captions on the commercials. That was one of the projects I worked on with the Association of National Advertisers.
Love it. So, I always feel lazy whenever I'm talking to Janice, because what she finishes before she's done with her morning coffee, I'm not sure the rest of us get done in a month. So these are the people that you always want on your team. So when I told you they're extreme high achievers, I was not kidding. Now, as I said, one of the pillars of success is really having this strong foundation that you are constantly reinforcing, and you're reinforcing it in different ways. And I'm curious, any of you that want to just go first and speak up, what is your foundation? What are those core things that you do in order to make sure you excel? And how are you constantly reinforcing that?
I can go first on this one. I think we had talked about this, Ruth, actually on another one of the shows. And for me, it's my morning routine that I'm consistent with every single day. And I usually do 3 things. And it's first thing, I get up, 4 things. I get up and get a cup of coffee. And then after, I think through my life decision of waking up at 5:36 in the morning, I then immediately go work out. I do something active for at least 20 minutes. And then after that, I will typically do quiet time. That can be meditation or journaling. And then shortly after that, I will plan my day. I'll look at my calendar and see what I need to do. But almost always I will wake up and work out. And the other thing is always quiet time in some way to just clear my mind to prepare myself for the day. And I've done that for years. I think it's also tied to the fact that I've been an athlete for most of my life. So we always worked out first thing in the morning. And then being in the military, you worked out first thing in the morning. And that is one thing. It's just been a pivotal part in my life. And then tying in they're micro changes that you need to make, but consistency has been the key.
I love it. And so you've been doing this for decades.
Since I was 12 years old. Wow. I started working out first thing in the morning. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's been a long time. Yeah.
I swear I feel lazy when I hang out with you guys.
I found that getting up in the morning usually helps you be more productive during the day.
You're so enlightening, Bruce. I love it.
All right, Bruce, your morning probably starts with an avocado.
And toast.
Yeah, I found that every day I need to get exercise. I need to eat, reasonably well, because I think, and also need to get enough sleep. Because I know there are people who, I know people like I had a classmate in med school who, says he can function on like 1 or 2 hours of sleep, and I can't do that. If I could do that maybe one night, but then the next day I'd just be like on the floor. So I think really getting enough sleep is important, and then exercising, and then thinking about your day, like trying to do things during the day that get you excited and that actually you're interested from a day-to-day standpoint. Because I hear a lot of people, they'll make goals, like long-term goals, but it's very difficult to achieve a goal if you don't actually like what you're doing from a day-to-day standpoint, because that's what keeps you going. So trying to make sure that you spend more of your time doing things that you actually want to do versus not do.
Well, let me ask you, Bruce, with your work, which is constantly changing, right? Whatever the latest pandemic is, what are some of the things that you need to do in order to be up to date? Are there any of the things that you do now that are the same as what you did when you first started in your career?
Yeah, I think, certainly keeping up to date with things, and you don't wait until like an emergency happens, or you don't wait until you really need something to kind of get up to date on something. So it's that consistency. There's always this saying, among anyone who plays sports, that like it's, you don't just get up for the game. It's like what you do the other 6 days or the other days when you're like practicing that really affects what you do during the game. And, of course, we have other athletes here and Olympian here, so, they can certainly speak to that as well. But I think it's, with anything, it's actually what you do sort of consistently that really makes a difference. Because I've seen so many situations, we can talk about public health and, the pandemic, where people jump in and just say, oh, suddenly I'm going to learn everything about the pandemic. because the pandemic is happening. But it's hard to compare that with like if you've been thinking about something for 10 years or 15 years, because then it's different. Like 10 or 15 years, like you're like, okay, this is what we were working towards. This is what we were trying to figure out all that time. It's just time to it's prime time now. So I think being more consistent about what you are interested in and what you do, rather than sort of jumping to the next wave
on whatever's sexy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's interesting. So I'm writing a book on the extreme high achievers, and one of the people I interviewed is somebody who has argued over 40 cases before the Supreme Court of the United States, which is a lot. And I asked him, I said, well, what do you do in order to prepare? And it's the same things he's doing now at case 40 that he did at case 1. And it might be fewer of them and it might be a little faster. So for example, he does moot courts. He does multiple of them. So, he would do 15 of them now where he might have done 25 early in his career. He has a binder that he walks into court with that has the answer to every single question that anyone could possibly ask. He writes the name of his children on a legal pad and has it right in front of him. And that's what he has done for every single case he has ever argued before the Supreme Court over decades. Right? So he's constantly, it's that strong foundation, and he's constantly reinforcing. He doesn't go in at case 40 and say, I've done this before a million times. No problem. It's the same kind of training constantly over and over again. Devin, I'm dying to hear your perspective on this.
So I actually, thank you. I actually start my day the evening before by planning what I have to do the next day for the most part. Obviously, every now and again, something will come that will change the plan, but usually I start the evening before or the night before. And then, when I wake up in the morning, I don't have coffee, I drink tea. So I have a cup of tea, must be the English in me. And then, actually, so these days I don't do a full workout. I'll do a light workout. I'll do some, some of the stuff I did in the army, some push-ups and some sit-ups. And then I do my meditation, which is not something I did back in the day. It's relatively new, last number of years. So I do my quiet time and then I get into my work. I do what I call the creative stuff early in the morning. The mindless things or things I can do by rote, I do later in the day to include, my workout. But to go back to some of the things that you and Bruce were just talking about, and Jax knows this too. You're absolutely right. Athletes do the same things over and over again. It's just the base, whether it's like as in this lawyer over 40 years. So as Bruce is sitting in a bobsled track, the drivers, it doesn't matter how many years you have bobsledded or how many Olympics you have been to, how many times you have been down a particular track. Before every training session and every race, the driver walks the track. Now, of course, remember which.
What does that mean? What does that mean, Devin? How do you walk the track on ice?
Well, you put on some cleats and you jump. So it's kind of interesting. So the whole process, for the most part, is more a mental exercise than it is trying to figure out which direction the corners go. And we normally, believe it or not, start the truck, we call the track walk, from the bottom of the track to the top. Only because it saves time. When you finish your track walk, you're at the top of the track and you can go down. So so when you're walking the track, and it's, I've done track walks where I'm mentally exhausted because you put so much energy into visualizing where you want to be on each corner. What we call the take on. So every corner has this one spot that you want to enter the corner on, what you want to do in the middle of the corner, what you want to do at the end of the corner. And so a lot of times when you see, if you're watching a race and a sled goes swoosh through the corner, the driver would have steered 3 times. And that's from the mental visualization. So we're walking the track and we're mentally visualizing the track, seeing ourselves going down the track and go, okay, I want to be here. And then you're kind of tracing the line and you just kind of embed that in your mind. And we do that over and over. And that's only one part. Obviously, there's a warm-ups, and the warm-ups are usually the same, right? Regardless of the sport that you do, you don't just jump into the competition, right? You go warm up.
Yeah.
So you're right. Regardless of your field of endeavor, there are just certain basic things that you do over and over again, and it doesn't change.
It's like a pilot's checklist.
Exactly.
They do that. The pilots have their checklist, and don't they walk all around the plane?
Mm-hmm.
Right before takeoff. So it's the same thing. Even though they've flown 1,000 times, there's still that pilot checklist that they go through.
Yeah, and it's obviously for them it's a matter of life and death. I would argue that for a bobsled driver it is as well, because you leave the top of a track and there's no guarantee that you're going to be alive. It's less than 60 seconds later. Jax would tell you, as a military person, before you leave on mission, you're making sure that you're checking all the kit, everything that you're supposed to have, going over the mission and the plan and all of that stuff. So it doesn't change. You have to do those basics.
Love it. Allison, tell me.
I could reiterate what a lot of people have said, but it definitely starts with a good night's sleep with me when my kids will let me get it, or when I'm not, I'm on call a lot as a pediatrician, so sometimes there's word calls. What I never do is think about what I have to do the next day before bed. And this would be something I strongly recommend for anyone who gets their mind turned on to their to-do list. I always try to clear my mind before bed, and then I do that planning the next day. I have the same cup of coffee and the same 3 eggs and bowl of plain oatmeal with cinnamon and blueberries every morning in front of my necessary in Chicago sun simulation light. And in the morning, I really try after my breakfast and after reading something during that time to exercise, either yoga or cardio, but a lot of that will depend on the level of chaos with young children. So I think that when you're raising kids and when you're a physician that has a different schedule every morning, depending on if I have hospital rounds or not, I have probably a less strict routine than most of you. On the other hand, I do meditate regularly. I just poke it in where I can. But I was really thinking a lot about basics, right? Devin, just like you, every time I see a patient, I have an order I go through. And it really helps when there's 3 kids in the room and there's a 3-year-old trying to pull your blood pressure cuff out of the wall. And everybody's interrupting, to have that order to go through to make sure you don't miss anything important on a patient. But I think my biggest basic, again and again, is I am constantly updating my knowledge. So I am always checking, do I still know what I think I know? Like, is the body of what I thought I knew in this area still accurate? Is there new information on this? Is there something from outside my field that can inform this? And I would say that's probably been my biggest basic since I was a kid, is looking for things I might have missed, looking for something that's interesting that kind of enriches what I'm working on.
That's fabulous. And I think that really builds on the conversation we had last week about high achievers are constantly consuming new knowledge. And we talked about all the different ways that they can do that. They can read articles, they can read books, they can listen to podcasts, they can watch videos, they can listen to us, watch us, all of that, talk to people. There's different ways to consume new knowledge. And it sounds that's exactly what you're doing, because we don't know what we don't know. And there's always something new to learn, and there's always someone we can learn it from. So I think it's part of that adding, right? Constantly adding to your body of knowledge is so critical. And that's part of that's how you're reinforcing your foundation. That's great. Janice, I want to hear your story.
So I'm not very dissimilar. So I also plan my night the night before. I go through to make sure there's nothing I need to I don't miss something in the morning. Like I have to go through the calendar. I also, when I wake up though, I don't meditate. I'm not a meditator. I can't be quiet, ever. So it kind of really doesn't work. But for me, my quote meditation is reading the news, going through multiple news publications to see like what happened. It has less of an urgency these days than it used to. But I need to be able to see like what's happened. And so that quiet time for me is just sitting and having the luxury while I'm eating breakfast of reading the newspaper or now reading my computer. But what I try to do is schedule every day, like 1 or 2 projects per day of something that I need to follow up with or, so when I have a project that I'm working on and someone says, okay, let's speak in 2 weeks, I put that at the top of my calendar, like a specific day. And so it literally goes on my calendar so I don't forget to follow up with them. And so I try not to have too many per day. So I will have like 1 to 2, 3 max per day of doing those type of calls because then it interferes with my regular work. So I have that on my calendar every single day. Or if I'm waiting to receive something, it's on my calendar the day it's supposed to. And then I love being able to, instead of like crossing it off the way I used to on a paper, I like just deleting it from my calendar.
Oh, wow. So I actually take what you do a step further. If I have to follow up with someone or something, I will actually block time off in my calendar to do that. So it's not a to-do list. It's something on the calendar with a specific time. And something we talked about in a previous episode is you have to know if you're a morning person or an evening person. I'm a morning person, so I'm not following up with people in the morning. I'm doing my cognitive tasks in the morning, which could be writing, it could be editing, it could be budget work, grant work, something that really takes a lot of focus. The following up, I'm like Devin, I will do that in the afternoon where my mind is kind of more tired and harder to focus. But I actually like to block time off on the calendar to do that. Otherwise, my to-do list just gets endless.
I tend to use some of those follow-ups as like my time, like, let's say right before this, right? Like when there's, let's say I finished one thing and I'm waiting for this to start and I have like those patches of time. I try to do those projects during those patches of time.
That's a good idea.
Between, instead of, let's say, going on Facebook or, something to like where you have like 5 minutes or I will try to like, that'll be when I send the follow-up email or sit and compose. So I try to block out all of those type of projects and save those type of projects for those in between moments.
Nice. So it's, I think it's shutting off those social media notification. All of a sudden you find all this found time to get all this great stuff done because you're not diverted every time your phone goes off because you got a Facebook message, a Twitter message, or whatever it is. So a lot easier to get a lot more done.
That was actually a fantastic tip. I am looking much less since we spoke about that and you said recommended shutting it. It's a huge difference.
I forgot that they had those. I turned them off so long ago because I can't have my phone dinging when I'm seeing patients. So that explains why some of you get back to me so quickly.
I'm wondering if that has to do with your work on anxiety. And I'm wondering if that constant dinging all the time really does that to people. I can't see how you can focus when it's constantly dinging it. And, some of us are on this group chat and when it gets going, right? And
you medical folks will be able to remind me of that, that hormone that makes you feel good. So every time you get that notification, that thing goes off in your brain, I go, oh, somebody loves me.
Somebody likes me.
Yeah, I think you're referring to dopamine for reward.
Dopamine, exactly. Yeah, you get that.
To oxytocin, which is the hug hormone.
Yeah, the dopamine. So you get that feeling. Oh, yeah, I'm important. Somebody is sending me something, and it becomes addictive, and obviously then diminishes your effectiveness because you spend time on the phone versus doing what you want to do, what you're supposed to do. One strategy that I've actually, quite honestly, gotten away from was that I would turn my phone off. Once I started working, I would just turn it off so you can't call me. Or you call me, you get my voicemail. And I go through, a 2 or 3 hour period just totally distracted.
I think it's important to get a notification every time the Kardashians do something.
Is that what I've been missing out on? Because I've never seen them. I don't know if I'm getting in trouble by saying that, over Ethernet. But yeah, maybe that's where I'm falling short.
Maybe that's why you were in the Olympics 3 times.
Well, that predated the Kardashian too, but yeah, possibly.
But there was, earlier versions. There were other families.
Yeah, indeed.
There was Real World then.
There was Real World. Yeah. You kind of have to shut some of that off and really focus on what you need to focus on.
So, how many hours of sleep do you guys get?
6-ish, 5.5, 6.
Oh, that's not a lot. Mm-mm.
I don't know why I don't get to bed before 12:30, and I'm up 6 o'clock ish. Kind of ding, I'm awake.
Ouch.
Yeah. When I was younger and more sprightly, I would be up at 5 going for a run. It's really funny. When I was in the Army, I had a really good friend. I would run past him every morning. He'll go washing his car, and I'm going out for my run. So it's like, what do you love most, right? He loved his car. I loved running.
That's like a scene from Cool Runnings, Devin.
It could, yeah. Now that I think about it.
Maybe that's where they got the idea.
Probably. And I didn't tell them about it. I don't remember. They're just very appreciative, I think.
I can understand, though. I can, from what Devin is saying, like you'll give up sleep to go and do your physical fitness activities, and you get so used to running on no sleep because of the military that even if you go to bed at midnight or 1, you know that you have to get up at 4 or 5 to go get your run in, whatever that is, or your workout in 6 to 8 miles, and you just get it done. And you give up an hour or 2 of sleep to make it happen.
Janice and I are shaking our heads. We don't like that.
It can be rough.
Allison too.
Yeah, it definitely. The military. So I was part of one of the first group of women to go through Ranger School, pre-Ranger School. So I actually had to shave my head before I went to the school. And it was a whole ordeal. There was a small group of us that got selected to go through this. And yeah, that was one of the toughest things was the physical fitness and activity. And they would put you to bed at like maybe 1, 2 in the morning. And then you would get right back up at 4 a.m. and just go right back at it again. So you just get used to it. And it's the mental fitness. You just move through it. Yeah.
Did you do winter or summer? Which I heard you have to ask.
Yeah. No, good question. I went in April. So that's going into the summer. Yeah, that's the really good time. That's when you go into it. But yeah, the sleep thing, now I've realized I really like 8 to 9 hours. I'm a sleeper. Like get me on the weekends. I'm writing a book right now. So I didn't sleep much this last weekend and I'm feeling it today. And I will probably sleep 12 hours straight or 16 hours one of these days. I do that. Like I sometimes I pull a 24-hour shift. I've done that before.
So I don't do well, staying up at nights, even when I was, except when I was in the military and I was operational.
Yeah.
Oh, that was easy. Yeah. Oh, that's so much.
You don't sleep. You just go.
Like, oh my God, this is cool.
So I've got to cut in here as the physician and stop you guys glorifying sleep loss, right?
Thank you, Allison.
In no way comparing medical training to Ranger training. Nonetheless, there were plenty of months where I was on PICU at Duke and I would get to bed at 1 and I'd be in the PICU at 4:30 in the morning to collect vital signs. And that was when I wasn't on a 30-hour shift, right? Mm-hmm. And so the training is definitely there so that you can make critical decisions, life or death decisions under sleep deprivation. But I had always been a writer before medical training. And then I went through a block of almost 10 years with sleep deprivation where I had no creative life. I just couldn't create. I couldn't write. I could make decisions. I could write medical papers. I could I never made a significant patient error. I was able to do all of that, but the higher level stuff, the creative stuff, it wasn't there. And frankly, I was in a bad mood for a decade.
Wow.
The science is so clear that sleep is like everything. Okay. It's like
It is.
number one thing tied to happiness, long life, health, cancer prevention, anti-inflammatory. So anyway, I get a minimum of 8 hours when people will let me.
Yeah.
So I'm the early riser. I
have to sleep, but honestly, with the military stuff, that's so easy to do. That's easy.
So I need a good 7 hours of sleep, and I'm not. A lot of us are in a group Zoom on Saturday nights, and everyone knows I clock off by 10 o'clock to get. I say I turn into a pumpkin. I don't know that I can trust what comes out of my mouth to sound intelligent after that, but I will wake up really early because I have always loved getting work done before everyone else wakes up. So I'll go to sleep early and I'll wake up early and I'll be able to get in good, solid work before everyone wakes up. And I enjoy writing, especially on the weekends, because the work stress is not there as much. So I can really focus on it. And I have, going back to the original discussion on the foundation, when I write in a very specific way. So I will do the writing in the morning and I will do some editing in the late afternoon, early evening. And there's different kinds of editings. There's punctuation editing and there's format editing, which you can do, with the Super Bowl on in the background. Mm-hmm. But then there is the structure and the formatting and tightening every sentence and making sure every word has to be there. That takes a lot of focus. So you really have to know your body and know when you're able to focus best in order to get that done. You don't want me editing things at 11 o'clock at night. It won't be good.
I try to get more sleep, but I just naturally, it's the weirdest thing. I wake up at the same time, the exact minute, every single, I'm like, it's like, let's say 6:46. I'm like, why is it always 6:46? I mean, it's like some random number, but even if I go to sleep at like 1 o'clock in the morning, I wake up at the same time. If I go to sleep 10 o'clock, I wake up at the same time.
So take a nap.
You know what? Sometimes I'm a big believer. Sometimes when I'm really tired, I will take a midday nap. I mean, that's the benefit of like working from home. And I find it really resuscitating. So I don't meditate, but I do sometimes take naps. I find it really makes a big difference while I'm working from home. But I don't need a lot of sleep. And I'm like, I don't even drink coffee or tea. I just naturally have just a lot of energy.
So I have to say, I have this uncanny ability. I don't use an alarm clock. I go to bed and I say, okay, wake up 6 o'clock. And I wake up. The only times I use an alarm clock is like when I'm traveling, especially and speaking, and I'm really tired going to bed the night and I know I have an early morning, I'll ask for a wake up call and I'm usually up before they call me. I'm like, I didn't even call. Like I'm in the shower, getting ready to go catch my flight, and oh yeah.
Those early morning presentations or early morning flights are killers because you don't sleep well because you're afraid you're going to sleep through the alarm. Mm-hmm. So when those of us, especially who either are giving talks in the medical profession, who love to have talks at 7 a.m., or if you're talking in different time zones, as Devin, I know you have to do, and their tomorrow is your today. And you have to then give a talk super early in the morning or super late at night. It sort of, changes things.
That's where the military thing comes in. You just do it. It has to be
all right. Last question. Last question before we wrap up. Bruce, you have your lab, you publish academic papers, you're the editor for some journal, and you're also writing for Forbes, and your articles come out essentially any hour of the day or night. What's your secret? It's bobsledding.
Well, I have a cloning machine. that photocopies me, and I have about 10 of me running around. Now, I have to get sleep. I have to get at least 7 hours of sleep. Like if I get less than 7 hours, I start doing things like, putting French fries in my pocket and stuff like that. So I can tell a difference, like if I actually get enough sleep, and I think, Allison mentioned, the first thing to go is really the sort of the creative thinking, et cetera. You can do routine tasks, and that's what happens many times, like during your medical training, where like you do a lot of rote tasks, so you don't realize how sleepy you are. But then when you actually sit down, you like fall asleep, do things like fall asleep in closets and stuff like that.
But brutal between medicine and military. Brutal.
Yeah,
absolutely brutal.
But yeah, I just find that I've during the day you sort of focus on doing things that you enjoy doing, and especially when you have to give yourself enough leeway so that when you get on a roll on something, that you don't have to cut it off. So you sort of try to build in some buffer time, like especially and you try to divide things. Like if you're going to do something creative, you need to allow enough time, like flexibility. And then so I found that it's actually better to bunch things. Like I'll have meeting days where I'll do nothing but meet, and just like one after another after another. They're pretty painful. They're brutal. And but then you can get through those, and then certain days where you have like more flexibility. So I like to bunch things.
You guys are giving me a vision of what my life will be like when my kids are older, right? Like all this scheduling and carving out time. I'm like, what is this world you live in?
You mean because you're busy carving out time for their activities on your calendar?
Mm-hmm. Right. Like I fit my stuff in between their needs, and I don't resent it. This is, we only have, I don't know how many years left till they go to college. Right. So this is the time, but I'm hearing all this stuff and I'm like, dude, like, I mean, parents in my stage of life with kids this age, we're more just like, okay, I got 10 minutes between when it's time to sit down for dinner, can I get something done during this time frame? And I'll write a paragraph on an article, Bruce, and then come back to it 4 days later, and just getting an actual concentrated creative time is a very special thing.
Wake up before everyone else wakes up.
They get up so early. Anyway.
Yeah. No, and I agree with that. And Bruce, what you were talking about where, you're able to concentrate on something so fully and you want to continue with it. That is so rare when it happens, when you're in that state. It's actually called a state of flow. It is so rare when it happens that you don't want to let it go. You're right, Bruce. You're not tired. You're not hungry. You don't need to go to the bathroom. Nothing hurts. You don't hear all the outside noises. You are so in the zone. And I agree with you. If you get in that state, you have to hold on to it. Everything flows beautifully then.
Yeah, there are times in which you are absorbed in something and then you lose sense of time and lose sense of the time and space continuum. And then, you're like, oh, it suddenly got dark and all the lights are off. So,
it's just me. Guys, we are going to wrap up. The panelists are going to tell you where you can find out more about them. I'd love to remind you, everyone here is volunteering their time, just like the 70 plus mentors on the Mentor Project. So please, if you would just leave us a rating and review on the podcast on the Mentor Project so other people can find us, we would be so, so grateful. So everyone, tell us where people can find you, starting with our 3-time Olympian who showed us his medals at our after party last time, Devon Harris.
Those are the things. DevonHarris.com. Thought I'd make it easy. That's my website, DevonHarris.com. I'm on IG, Instagram, and Twitter at KeepOnPushing88. I'm on Facebook. I'm the guy in the Jamaican bobsled uniform. Think you might be able to recognize that. Check me out. Check out my podcast, youtube.com/keeponpushing always. Keep on pushing always on YouTube. Thank you so much for checking in.
Thank you. And Devin, there's going to be an article about Devin in my Forbes article next week, not tomorrow. My articles come out Tuesday morning. It'll be next week. So you can hear about Devin and his story, and you'll see the group of the 4 of them in a bobsled, and you have to let us know if you know which one is Devin. That'll be our trivia.
Looking forward to that. And since we're making announcements, next Monday, our little chat and Keep On Pushing Stories will be published on my YouTube, on my podcast. Keep On Pushing always on YouTube. Come and check out Dr. Ruth Gotian.
Oh, fun. Yes, you have to let us know. That was a fun chat.
Yeah.
Thank you. Allison, where can people hear more about you?
You can find me at allisonescalante.com or shouldStorm.com. It links to all my articles and videos and socials. And when the book Should Storm finally comes out, there is a chapter on how to get into the flow state when you want to, and some cool techniques that can actually bring that on so it's not always so rare.
Love it. Love it. That's so great, because when it happens, boy, that is brilliant. Thank you, Allison. Janice Lentz.
I can be found at hearingaccess.com or janicelentz.com.
Thank you. Dr. Bruce Y. Lee.
Yeah, so Allison, we had a lot of should blizzards over the past couple of days, so I had to do a lot of should shoveling. But anyway, I can be found if you Google Bruce Y. Lee. The Y is key because you get something completely different if you Google Bruce Lee. And my website is bruceYlee.com. On social, it's at Bruce_Y_Lee, like Twitter and Instagram, etc. And also you can do Bruce Y. Lee Forbes to read my articles,
which come out like every 15 minutes. Thank you, Jax.
Hey, all right. Easiest way to find me is the Mentor Project page. Just go there. You can find me under the mentors or executive board. And then also my LinkedIn. Just look for me for Jax, Jax, Scott. Too easy.
Too easy. Thank you. And I am Dr. Ruth Gotian. My website is ruthgotian.com. Forbes, just put in my name, and all the social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. Just put in my name and you will hear all about the great work that all my friends are doing. And I'll put in my articles there as well. So join us every Monday night. We have other people, other Olympians coming. We have in a couple of weeks the author of this book, The Ministry of Common Sense, How to Eliminate Bureaucratic Red Tape, Bad Excuses, and Corporate Bull, by Martin Lindstrom. He is coming on the 22nd. He will be joining us. So, and you never know who else is going to pop in, because we have our fun group of high achievers every week, every Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on all the social media, and the audio comes out on Sunday. Thank you so much to Jax for making us look gorgeous. Debbie Heiser, who I know is doing something amazing behind the scenes for us. She's the CEO of the Mentor Project. And as always, thank you to the Mentor Project for hosting us. I'm Dr. Ruth Gotian, and this is Optimizing Your Success. Thank you.
Thank you to all of our listeners and sponsors who have made this podcast possible. You can find out more about Dr. Ruth Gotian to optimize your success, live events held every Monday at 8 p.m. EST, by going to our Facebook page at The Mentor Project. I am Jax Scott, the Chief Operations Officer here at the Mentor Project and the host of Meet Your Mentor, which posts every Wednesday. If you're interested in working with the Mentor Project, please reach out to us by going through our website at mentorproject.org. We look forward to seeing you back here next week to learn more about how you can optimize your success.